How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today, to mark the end of the 365-day challenge, I want to talk about living the benefits of quitting drinking alcohol and staying off alcohol, living an alcohol-free life. First of all, thanks for everyone for sticking it out until the end of this challenge. 365 videos done in a year. For everyone, no matter how many videos you've watched during the year, I hope you got something out of it. I hope you found some helpful advice. Although it's the end of the challenge, it's not the end of the videos. I'm going to take it easy for a little bit, but there's still going to be a couple of videos up every day. There'll be one up tomorrow if you're watching this in real time, just explaining a bit about what I intend doing now, some of the plans and stuff. Anyway, get on with this video. I think it's a fitting end to the challenge to sort of dig down again into sort of the benefits of quitting drinking alcohol, but from a personal perspective. And one of the obvious things, one of the things that causes a lot of people to quit drinking in the first place is the hangovers. So, that's obviously one of the huge benefits of stopping, is that you just don't get any more hangovers, ever again. And, it's something which has a huge knock-on effect in your life. Drinking alcohol has a negative effect. Not drinking alcohol, on the other hand, and treating your life like you want to expand your life and grow your life has a very positive effect. So quitting drinking alcohol and leading an alcohol-free life, from that perspective, has a very positive effect. When you drink day after day, the more you drink, the more effect alcohol has on you. The more you don't drink, the more alcohol has less of an effect on you. When you get up every day and there's not going to be a hangover at the end of that day, when you know that going to bed that night that you're going to get a good sleep because you haven't been drinking, you haven't been putting toxins into your body. It's a good feeling to know that you're going to get up the next morning and you can plan what you're going to do the next day. And that has a positive knock-on effect for the rest of your day. It has a positive knock-on effect for the rest of your week and the rest of your life. Knowing that you're not going to be self-sabotaging yourself at every turn because of instant gratification, because you want to, use alcohol for whatever. Now, the closest approximation I can come to a hangover, because to be honest, I can't remember. I remember in deadly detail what it's like to have a hangover, but it's like the feeling it's been 4.5 years since I've had a hangover, so almost to the day. And that feeling is sort of escaping me at the moment, I can remember in detail, the bits and pieces, the waking up during the night, sitting on in front of the computer, sitting on the couch, not being able to do anything, not wanting to do anything, feeling sorry for myself, blah, blah. The closest approximation I can sort of come to feeling that kind of thing now is when I have a really big cheat meal, what I call a cheat meal. So there's a lot of fat in it, or there's more fat in it than I would usually eat. There's a lot of sugar in it, maybe, or salt, and it just affects my body. And if I eat a lot and I go to bed feeling stuffed, and I don't do this very often, I normally try and keep it 2.5 hours before I go to bed, so that I get sort of the best sleep that I can get, and I wake up in the morning feeling the best that I can feel. Just from that perspective of not having my body digesting food while I'm asleep, let's put it like that, that most of the digestion has happened a long time before that. Anyway, if I do go to bed with a full stomach, feeling stuffed, and I have eaten some of the wrong types of foods, then that's the closest approximation I can come to nowadays of having a hangover when I wake up in the morning, feeling sort of down. And believe me, it's not even 100 times less the feeling that I was getting when I was drinking, So that's the hangover, no more hangovers. Now, relaxation is the next one that I wanted to talk about. That I've never felt so relaxed. You know, people talk about drinking alcohol to relax. And, you know, it's another one of those things that we build up this picture of what alcohol does for us, and that happens to be one of those things. You know, think back to the first drink that you ever had in your life. All the way back, you know, to that first drink, or the first few drinks, when you first drank when you were young, you know, not just the first drink. You know, when you took that first sip, did you think to yourself, well, I feel so relaxed now. Unbelievable, I don't know, what's this feeling? You know, where did this feeling come from? You didn't. You know, we just don't do that, you know. The first thing that you think of is, what the fuck is this? You know, my first feeling was, when I tasted it, it tasted like vomit with petrol in it. That's as close as I could come to with what I knew, what I tasted before, you know. I don't know how I tasted petrol, but I had at that stage. I think as a young boy, you sort of dabble in these things. It's one of the reasons why it's so easy for us to start drinking and smoking. I mean, young girls as well, the same thing, I think. But that was the first approximation, and I was with a guy, a friend of mine. We were in our backyard. We were at like a tent made up. It was like a tent. It was more like a rickety old shed that we built out of all sorts of different crap. Anyway, the point was that the two of us were together, and that was my first impression, was of petrol-y sick going into my mouth. But I couldn't say to him, I'm not drinking this, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you were drinking it for a purpose, and the purpose was to grow up, you know, to feel like you were an adult, you know, to feel like you were doing something which was adult-like, and it wasn't adult-like to sort of turn it back, you know. You know, you see adults around you drinking this all the time, so if they're drinking it and you can't drink it, then there's something wrong with you. And I couldn't tell him that, and he was probably having the same exact thoughts, you know, or similar thoughts to what I was having, that, Jesus, what the hell is this stuff that I'm just putting into my mouth? But I can't tell Kev, because, you know, Kev's going to think I'm a weakling, you know. He's going to think I'm a sap. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, but my point is that the last thing that was on your mind when you were drinking that stuff was, oh, how relaxed I feel all of a sudden, you know. Jesus, never seen this before. What the hell is this stuff, you know? I must do this again, you know. You don't think like that at all. The reason relaxation comes into it much, much later. You know, it comes into it when you it becomes a part of your routine, and you become accustomed to it. You discover that you can relax, and when I say discover, it's not something that's there, it's something that you have built up in your own head over the time that you've been drinking, right? It's only when you stop drinking that you realize a lot of these things about yourself and about your life and about your life, your drinking life, the life before you stop drinking, and you start comparing it to life after drinking. And you will discover, if you haven't discovered this already, that you don't need to relax as much anymore, right? Because you're not as anxious anymore, right? And that's the only reason that people relax or want to relax, is because they're going from a state of anxiety and they want to get out of that state of anxiety into a state of relaxation, right? So if you're relaxed, you don't need to relax, right? You're already relaxed. And that's the way I feel more in my life now, you know. Much more relaxed, much less anxious about things, much less stressed out. So I don't need to relax more, you know. I'm already in a relaxed state. And that's the problem with drinkers. Drinkers need to relax because they are a lot more anxious in their whole lives and their whole outlook, you know. And the alcohol causes that. You know, the alcohol is a direct cause and effect factor in them feeling anxious in the first place, you know. So people need to relax because they have this complete anxiety which is building up and building up and building up, and the more people drink, the more they have to drink. The more people consume alcohol, the more anxious they're going to get, the more you get into this, the more you need to drink, the more shit is happening in your life because of your alcohol drinking, the more your body is reacting to it, and causing you anxiety. So there's all this, you're getting anxiety from many different directions, and not just from the alcohol. Like I say, it's not the alcohol that's at fault here. It's your body's reaction to it. It's the way your mind reacts to it. It's the way all of this affects your life around you, how other people react to you, how you are reacting to other people, how you are reacting to your work and to your life, to your social life, to all parts of your life. Alcohol changes you from the inside out. As soon as alcohol goes into your body, that's when you start changing. So this is the problem. This is where you have to deal with it. So living the benefits of an alcohol-free life means that you are not as anxious as you were, so you don't have this same type of anxiety anymore, So you don't need to relax as much. You are already in that state of relaxation. The third big thing is sleep. This is one of the big things that will change in your life when you stop drinking is, when you drink, you don't get a good night's sleep because the alcohol is in your system. As soon as the alcohol is in your system, your body is on red alert. Your body, all the security systems are kicking in, survival instinct, and your body is there underneath trying to get rid of this toxin, changing one toxin to another toxin and then changing that toxin to a further toxin, and just, trying to battle the effects. When alcohol gets into your system, it can only deal with 1 unit of alcohol per hour, which is about a half a glass of wine, a half a glass of beer, and the rest of the alcohol that we put into our system then is firing around our bodies, and your body is trying to fight against that. It's like a wildfire. You fight one fire here and another fire starts over there, so you've got to have somebody else that's going to put out that fire, and you're trying to fight these fires all the time. Your body is trying to do this inside as you sleep, right? So generally after a session of alcohol, that's what you want to do, is go to sleep, and it's your body's way of dealing with things. It's one of the ways is to put you into as much of a comatose state, get you out of the way as it possibly can, because it cannot deal with the immense amounts of toxins that you've just put into it while keeping you conscious at the same time. It just doesn't work like that. So you don't go into a sleep, you go into a coma state, right? And your body underneath is not sleeping. It's at this, it's not, there's no recuperation about this sleep. It's survival. So you're not getting the rest that you need. You're not going into that deep REM sleep. You're not getting a sleep. When you don't drink alcohol, before you go to sleep, you have trouble getting to sleep, and then you might have a restless sleep. So, you get into this cycle of either drinking or not drinking when you go to sleep, and either going into a coma and thinking that you're asleep, but you're not really asleep because you're not getting the recuperative sleep that you need, or you're having a very fitful sleep because your body is not used to going to sleep without the alcohol. So once you get out of that, once you get over the initial stage of having fitful sleep, it took me about a month before I was on a very level sleep again, where I was able to have full night's sleep without that recuperative sleep that I hadn't had in a long time. Once you get over that, then you'll find that your sleep will be much, 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 much better than it ever was before, at least until before you started drinking, So again, it's one of those things that I can go back to. One of the closest approximations of this is when I eat a heavy meal and my body is trying to digest the food as I'm asleep, and then I wake up, during the night, and I won't have as restful a sleep. But again, it's nowhere near the type of sleep that I was losing for years when I was drinking alcohol. And there's so many other benefits. I mean, the benefits to your relationships. People say that alcohol drinking is a social thing to do, but there's nothing social about it, because taking any drug is a selfish act, and the more you take of this drug, the more into yourself you get, the more you give to other people. When you don't drink, you socialize for the sake of socializing. You socialize for the sake of being with the people that you want to be with, not for the sake of pouring a toxin into your body, right? Financially, you'll just be much, much better off. I mean, like I said, I've saved sort of in the region of 60 grand, and that's just on the money that I would have spent on alcohol and all the other shit that I was spending money on because I was drinking. And that's not taking into account the opportunity cost, the money that I could have earned because I had a clear mind, I mean, it's just like, it's night and day between the type of business that I'm building now and the type of business that I was trying to build before I stopped drinking. Just night and day. It's not the same level of commitment, not the same level of effort going into it, the same levels of thought or care, any of those things that are going into the business that I'm building now in comparison to what I was doing before. Because, how can you? When your mind is so distracted by ill health, by self-caused ill health, and it's self-caused, you might try and push it down. You might try and drink over the cracks, in your life. But all that drinking over the cracks does is it makes those cracks wider. It doesn't fix them. The only way to fix those cracks in your life is to stop the drinking, to stop the toxification of yourself, to stop the self-sabotage, the handicapping. And when you handicap yourself like that, you handicap yourself not just in an area where you're going to lose money, but you're losing so much more. You're losing your relationships, you're losing your health, you're losing your time. I have so much more time now in my hands. It's just unbelievable. I'm still the same 24 hours as everyone else has, but it's so much more productive. Even if I wasn't trying to do stuff, it would be more productive. You know what I mean? Because, I remember when I was drunk, when I was a drinker, watching programs like Judge Judy and just looking for problems with people. Watching these programs where people had so bad problems, and I could sort of lift my head up and go, well, at least I'm not there, the type of programs, what's his name, Jerry Springer and that kind of thing. I used to love those kind of programs because it sort of showed me a different type of a person who was way worse than I was, and in my mind I was never going to get to that level, so it's sort of, it's another form of excuse, when you're talking about memories, all the memories that I've dismissed over my life, I've lost over my life, memories of things. I've talked about this before, that the only time, the times when, the special times in your life, the times when you finish work, right? Just boiling down to this one, the very basics of this. When you finish work in the evening and you've got your time back to yourself, this is your time, this is your quality time. What do? We drink, and we tend to stay in the same situation, doing the same thing over and over and over again. So not only does the memory become sort of mixed up with every other time that you've done this thing, so you can't distinguish between one memory and another memory. You can't distinguish between yesterday's sitting down in front of the television drinking alcohol to a year ago's sitting down in front of the television drinking alcohol, or 5 years ago sitting down in front of the television drinking alcohol. But the memories of the situations, any individual situations that you have, tend to disappear because you can't form good memories when you're drinking alcohol. Alcohol is one of the first things, it's one of the only things that can pass through the blood-brain barrier, which is a protective membrane wrapping up your brain, right? So it's to protect you from a lot of things, a lot of bad shit that's in your body that you don't want to get into your brain, right? That can cause a lot of shit to happen in your brain. And that's including a lot of drugs. Most drugs can't pass through that blood-brain barrier, but alcohol is one of the few things that can. And you're talking about something which is a solvent, which is used as a solvent to clean shit, you know, clean. It will, you put a penny into alcohol, you know, and it will clean that penny up nice and bright. Well, guess what? That's exactly what it does to your brain. Cleans up your brain, and not in a good way, you know. Cleans out those memories and stops you from forming those memories. And when we're talking about memories, you're talking about all the times, you know, the special occasions in your life, birthday parties, weddings, graduations, all those times when you are supposed to be celebrating. And these are things that when you get older, you hold on to these things as memories, as times. Do you remember that? Do you remember this? Do you remember that? The drinker doesn't remember any of that shit. You know, they remember stuff, and they think they remember stuff because they see photographs afterwards. And then, you know, 2 years down the road, they think, oh yeah, I remember that, you know. But they don't. They remember the photograph, you know. They might remember being there, arriving there, and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, a lot of the stuff they don't remember because the drink has robbed them of those memories. Well, you know, time and memories form two sort of, they're parallel roads that you get back once you stop drinking alcohol. You know, these are things that you know, you get more time, you know, even though you have the same amount of time, you do more with your time, and you remember more about the times that you have. I mean, like I said, you know, the first holiday that we had down in Malacca was maybe, I think it was 8 months. It was in October or November of that year. I can remember so many details about that holiday that, you know, when you ask me about holidays that we've had before I stopped drinking, I just can't remember any, you know, like very few details. But, you know, your memory becomes so much better once you stop drinking long term, and once you know, the effects of the alcohol that you've already done wear off. So time, just you get the double bang for your buck. You know, you get the time that you've gained because you don't drink anymore. You don't have to think about drinking anymore. You don't have to put up with the hangovers anymore. All that time that you've gained back, you gain all the time because you get up every day and your mind is clear. You know, you can think much, 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 much better about your life, about what you want to do with your life. You can piece things together, and tomorrow you'll remember what you did yesterday. You remember what you thought yesterday. You remember all these things about your life that add up and start to accumulate. And your knowledge will start to accumulate. You know, I'm not saying that you don't do any of this stuff, but when you're not poisoning yourself with alcohol, it becomes much, much easier to do these things, and the accumulation becomes a lot wider, you know. So you gain just so much more time. The last 5 years for me have just seemed like I've done so much more in those 4.5 years than I've done in the previous 10, 15 years before, you know. And that's being sort of conservative about what I'm talking about, because, you know, as a drinker you tend to do the same things over and over and over again. As a non-drinker, you do get bored fairly quickly with a lot of the stuff that you're doing in your life, so you tend to try out new things more. You tend to go to new places, you tend to seek out new adventures, and the things that you stick with, that you like doing, you deepen the bonds with those things, you deepen the understanding with those things. You know, your experience of those things expands, and your knowledge expands, and, you know, the more you can expand your knowledge and your experience of these things, I think the more you get out of it, the less bored you are. You know, you get into the more intricate details of a thing that you're doing, you know, and whether that's, you know, climbing up mountains and thinking and just, you know, getting to know yourself more, you know, or taking up a hobby and getting into it, you know. For me, I've I spend a lot of time reading books about my health, in particular with nutrition, and how I could form a basis of lifelong health with just choosing the right foods that I eat. And from that it's expanded out to I'm thinking about, we've got a bigger garden now, so the idea was always to try and plant some food, greens and other vegetables and melons and stuff like that, stuff that I really like to eat and I want to grow organically, so that you're expanding out all the time, you're expanding your knowledge about things, and this thing, for me, gardening is not something that I'm taking to naturally. It's going to take me a long time to get into it, but it's a gradual process. It's like anything else in life, when I learn as I go along, and there's plenty of good teachers out there, that will teach you about the intricacies of any subject. Go to YouTube, and this is just a fantastic resource now for anyone. Amazon is there if you want books. There's people that are willing to teach you, and the more, I think there's going to be millions of entrepreneurs produced over the next few decades, because the way the job market is going, people just don't have that same sort of job security anymore, and people are going to start looking to create their own businesses, small businesses focusing on a very niche area and becoming experts in that area and teaching other people how to do it. That's the way I see things, and places like YouTube are just going to expand. Online universities are going to expand. People trying to teach themselves and educate themselves, that's all expanding and expanding. So I guess the idea about this video is just to talk about living the benefits. It's all right talking about the benefits of drinking from a very from the perspective before you've stopped drinking. You can think about these things, but you don't really get what's happening, because at the beginning there's a bit of fear about what's going to happen in the future. There's fear about the discomfort. There's not wanting to go through the discomfort. There's a fear about all different aspects of life. So it stops you from really seeing what the potential that's available to you once you stop. But that potential is there, and it's only through experience that you'll get an understanding of that. It's when you're beginning this journey, you're starting out with a drinker's brain, with that mentality of this is the way I relax, this is the way I socialize, this is the way I do this or that or the other. This is who I am as a person, and so much of that has got to change in order for you to become alcohol free permanently. Now I think you can do a fairly good job of that in 2 or 3 months, because I think if you start out with the right mindsets, start out with the right preparation, you can take on this very, very quickly and rapidly. By 3 months, you should be able to get to a stage where you're thinking to yourself, I never want to drink again. That's my whole purpose in this, is to try and get you to think about things from that perspective. But once you do see things from that perspective and you start living the benefits, the benefits start to show themselves in your life, and everyone's going to get the different benefits. You can look at the benefits from those big perspectives, right, that I've been talking about, right? So started out talking about relaxation, one of the biggest things, and with that relaxation you've got the anxiety that is caused by alcohol, and once the anxiety levels lower because you're not doing this to yourself, and you start to expand your mind and you start to think about other things and how you can improve yourself in other ways, the anxiety levels will lower and lower and lower, so you'll become much more relaxed as a person, right? You won't need to take anything to relax. Sleep is another thing, you don't need to take anything to sleep, because you will naturally go to sleep, as you should be, go to sleep at night, you wake up in the morning refreshed, fully recuperated and ready for the day. That's the way it should be. And with the finances, with the relationships, with so many other different areas of your life, these are the general areas where you will find improvements, but every single person will find improvements. Their improvements slightly different to another person, and you live the life when you feel happy and you feel content and you feel delighted with yourself and over the moon that you've finally conquered something and you've discovered something about yourself that was holding you back all the time. And now that you've released yourself, that you can push forward into almost anything you want to do. And that is the beauty about just stopping this one vital thing in your life, this one poisonous aspect. You know, it's like, you know, moving yourself from the city into the country. You know, you get so many benefits from so many different aspects of your life, you know, that you didn't think that were possible, you know. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. If you have any questions, I'll leave them down below in the comment section below. Thank you very much for sticking out with me through these 365 days. And I don't know what's going to hold. I mean, I've got a few plans of what's going to happen. I'll talk a bit more about that tomorrow in tomorrow's video. But I'll still be doing this, so don't worry about it. It's not going to stop because I finished a challenge. Just wanted to learn a few things, and I've learned a lot. Again, I'll talk about it tomorrow. But until tomorrow, take care of yourself. If you want to come over to the website, if you're on the website, you can get our Alcohol Mastery Starter Pack, which is a lot of videos to try and help you to get over that initial stage, right? Those initial 30 days in the first thing, and then the 90 days to try and reprogram your brain, you know, to give you the opportunity to seed your own propaganda, you know, to put that propaganda in your own mind, the type of propaganda that's good, positive propaganda, you know. Hope you got something out of this video. Anyway, until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take very good care of yourself. Keep the alcohol out your mouth. Onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye now.